Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 10WT Friday, where every single week we teach you how to form the healthy habits that will transform your body and your life. At the 10-Week Transformation, we teach you a 5-step framework. We start by helping you build your big, your why behind your fitness. Then we set your success indicator, which is what you want to accomplish and by when. Next is about identifying your progress indicators, which are the weekly behaviors that will undoubtedly progress you closer to your goals. Then we help you plan your pills, which are the micro habits that increase the likelihood that you succeed in your week amidst the chaos of your life. And lastly, we help you set up your scoreboard, which increases the stakes of the game that you're playing and really gives you the feeling of game on. If you do these steps, then your habits are going to be rock solid, your self-confidence will skyrocket, and you'll be on the path to your best you. Every single week, we help individuals who are hungry for growth, people just like yourself, optimize their potential. I'm your host, Nick Carrier, and today I'm really excited to talk about something that's very timely, and that's 10 ways to make Christmas healthier. The goal of the Best You podcast is to allow you to feel confident about what you need to do, why you need to do it, and how to do it in order to get closer and closer to your best you. So if you're listening to this on the day of its release, it is the 23rd, December 23rd of 2022. And these are things that will help you make Christmas healthier, but really these are things that will help you make any kind of holiday or any kind of weekend really healthier. And so these are something that I want you to try to take and apply when it comes to Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas or what have you, but also apply moving forward because they're applicable to, as I said, every weekend and making things not as bad as they could be. Because that's one of the phrases that I talk about all the time. Make it not as bad as they could be. I'm not asking you to make Christmas super healthy. I'm not asking you to do a 2-hour workout on Christmas and to not have a lot to eat for dinner and to not have any sweets, right? That's ridiculous. Anybody who deprives themselves of that is not living life maybe how they want to. Now, if you just don't even care about doing that stuff, then by all means don't. But most people would feel like they're depriving themselves if they don't enjoy a lot of the things that come along with the holiday of Christmas. But anyways, let's dive in. 10 ways to make Christmas healthier. I'm going to go ahead and tell you there's 3 different categories of things. There's going to be 3 different tips when it comes to alcohol. There's going to be 2 different tips when it comes to exercise, and 5 different tips when it comes to food. So the first 3 are going to pertain to alcohol. And this is all about creating pills. And so in the 10-Week Transformation, we have things called your pills, and that is PILS. Their purpose is to increase the likelihood that you're successful with your weekly goals. And so if your weekly goal is to limit the number of drinks of alcohol that you're going to have, then these are some really great pills that you can set for yourself to increase the likelihood that you actually do those things. First one is set a drinking time that you're going to start at. On Christmas, depending on who you are and what's going on with your family, oftentimes people might start drinking at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12, 1, 2. What is the normal time that you and your family might start drinking on Christmas morning or Christmas early afternoon? And then try to push it back. See if you might be able to push back the start time of your alcohol intake, because that will inevitably decrease the overall consumption that you have. And it might actually even decrease the overall food intake that you have as well, because oftentimes when people start drinking, then they start eating and therefore eating more than they would like to. So first tip to make Christmas healthier from an alcohol perspective is to set a start drinking time that's a little bit later than you would normally do it. Second tip with regards to alcohol is set a stop drinking time. Same thing, like this is one of the biggest keys with alcohol. Not that I'm promoting drinking alcohol, right? But I drink alcohol, not a ton, but on the weekends I definitely do. And one of the biggest things to feeling good the next day is to make sure you stop drinking at a reasonable hour and then have some water afterwards, right? And so if you can set a stop drinking time, that can, one, overall limit the number of alcoholic beverages that you have during the day, but also it will set you up for success on the next day. It'll make you feel not as bad that next morning, so that morning and that day can be a productive day. But, if you wake up feeling hungover, then you probably aren't going to eat as healthy. You're probably not going to exercise. So if you can set a stop drinking time that is earlier than it might normally be, then not only is it going to benefit you on that day, but it's also going to benefit you on the day after. So second tip, stop drinking at a particular time. And then third one is drink water in between every single one of your alcoholic beverages. Now, it can be 6 ounces of water. It can be 12 ounces of water. But make a rule for yourself of drinking some amount of water in between your alcoholic beverages. Or maybe it's in between every 2 alcoholic beverages, right? Like, this is all about what is realistic for you and what sets you up for success. I know for me, it can be pretty hard to drink water in between every alcoholic beverage. I have clients that do this all the time and it works great for them and they really tally how much water they're drinking. So if this works for you, then let's go for it. It can not only decrease the overall amount of alcohol intake that you have, but it makes sure that you still stay relatively hydrated and make sure that the next day you're not feeling bad as well. So again, those 3 alcohol tips to make Christmas healthier is start drinking at a particular time later than normal, stop drinking at a particular time earlier than normal, and then drink water in between alcoholic beverages. The next 2 are going to be related to exercise. The first one is decide that you're going to exercise on Christmas morning. I think so many people say it's Christmas, so I'm not going to exercise. And if that is you, then go for it. But if that is just your excuse for not exercising, some people plan to not exercise on Christmas morning and they exercise on the days around it. And that's fine. If you plan to make Christmas your day off, great, take your day off. But if you're just using it as an excuse, if it would be a day that you actually should work out and you feel like you want to work out, but you just use the excuse that it's just Christmas morning, don't let that be your excuse. I just had a great podcast interview with a guy named Roy Hall Jr., and he talks about how excuses are the crutches for the uncommitted. Excuses are the crutches for the uncommitted. Don't go into your Christmas day thinking that I might be interested in doing a workout. No, go in committed to doing a workout and don't let that excuse of Christmas morning get the best of you. Christmas morning workout is one of my favorite workouts to do. I usually have family around, we open presents, and then I get everybody else, it might not be their favorite thing to do, but then I get everybody to go do a workout with me. And not only is it fun because you're usually doing it with friends and family, but it's also just a great day. So you're already uplifted and positive, and you feel really good when you go into starting to maybe eat and drink. So don't use the Christmas morning excuse to not get your exercise in. Exercise before you really get the day going with eating and drinking. The second exercise tip is maybe go on a walk after Christmas dinner or go on a walk after one of your meals. Oftentimes, it's actually a biological thing, that is really beneficial. There are studies that show that when you eat a meal and you go on a walk right after, the insulin spike is less severe than it would be if you ate and then you just sat down. Again, there are actual studies, I can't reference them right now. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know I've heard them, is that if you go on a walk right after your meal, the level of insulin spike is a lot less than because you went on a walk. And so not only is it from a biological perspective, but also you're just going to feel better. You're going to feel better by going on a walk and getting moving right after your meal. And again, do it with friends and family. Go with friends and family. Bring maybe a cocktail or whatever. Bring a water with you on your walk, and it'll make it enjoyable as well. As long as you set the expectation and let people know beforehand that you want to do a walk after their meal, I'm sure there's going to be at least one person in your family who's down to do that. So second exercise tip is go on a walk after either whatever time you have your big meal. So those are the first 3 alcohol, second 2 were exercise, and then these last 5 are going to be food related on making Christmas healthier. First one, and don't hear what I'm not saying with this one, but the first tip is don't eat breakfast. Now, this is not a tip to necessarily not eat breakfast all of the time, but you can use this day as a way to do a little bit of intermittent fasting and maybe even experiment with it, right? Try not eating breakfast because that will just limit the overall number of calories that you intake. And potentially if there's just unhealthy breakfast foods around, because I know that oftentimes people just bring pastries and bagels and biscuits and things like that around on Christmas morning, and that's not good for you. So maybe just don't eat breakfast altogether. Again, when I give you these 10 tips, I'm not telling you to do every single one of them. Maybe you pick one, or maybe this sparks the creativity in your own mind to come up with your own. But these are ones that I have specifically seen my clients use in the past and ones that I have specifically used at some point as well. So the first one is don't eat breakfast. Second one, it has to do with your main meal that you eat. Eat your veggies first. Eat your veggies first. That will do a really good job of already making you feel pretty full so that you're not as tempted to eat the other stuff. So eat your veggies first when you have your meals on Christmas Day. Third tip is have one plate instead of two. Have one plate instead of two, or maybe two instead of three. I would just say have one less than you might typically do. For me personally, I'm not probably going to abide by this rule. I usually have maybe 2 or 3 plates of my Christmas meal. I will probably abide by not eating breakfast and making sure I work out and everything like that to make it not as bad as it could be. But if you feel like one plate instead of 2 or 2 plates instead of 3 is a way that you can make Christmas healthier, then do it. Next one is very similarly related, but have one dessert instead of 2. Have one serving instead of 2. Or again, if you usually have 3, then have 2 servings instead of 3. How can you commit to yourself from a dessert standpoint to make it not as bad as it could be? And the last part from a food perspective is don't have the bread. Don't have the bread. I know my family usually always has rolls and stuff as kind of like the last bit of the buffet that you can grab and put on your plate, and I just skip out on it. It's not worth it. There's so much other good food on there and I don't want to fill up on bread, on butter and bread. Both from it's just not healthy, but also I want to make sure that I can eat the other stuff as well. So again, these 10 tips to make Christmas healthier, I'm not saying that you should implement any of them. I'm saying that you should try to come up with some ways to make Christmas healthier for yourself. Again, it doesn't have to be super, super healthy. It just has to be not as bad as you could be. And you're going to feel so much better the next day because of it. And you're going to feel so much more confident in yourself that, hey, Christmas doesn't have to get the best of me. It doesn't have to be the excuse for why I put on a few pounds. It doesn't have to be the excuse for why a bad Christmas turns into a bad next few days and then I start off January feeling sluggish. No, you have the ability, you have responsibility and ownership to be able to make Christmas healthier, therefore accelerating the finish of your 2022, making you feel really good heading into 2023. Again, these 10 tips are things that we talk about in the 10-week transformation so often on a regular basis on how can we set ourselves up for success? How can we make things not as bad as it could be? When you're going on a girls' trip, how can we make that not as bad as it could be? How can we bring snacks with us? When you're going on a family vacation, how can you make it not as bad as it could be? When you're going to a work party, when you're going to a happy hour, when you're going on a bachelorette trip, when your kids have travel soccer games or basketball games all around, how can we make it not as bad as it could be? How can we set ourselves up for success? If you feel like you need help with identifying those things, and not even just identifying those things, but being held accountable for them, then the 10-week transformation is for you. And if you want to just help, not even do the 10-week transformation, but just get help with some of these things on the front end, then join me on a free call. All you got to do is go to nickcarrier.com/free call. And this is for those of you in Nashville and not in Nashville. I just sincerely love sitting down with people and discussing with them about what do you want to achieve? What does success look like for you? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What's holding you back? And how can we make sure we don't let it hold you back any longer? Again, if you want to join a call with me, go to nickcarrier.com/free call. But I hope today helps you make Christmas a little bit healthier. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's one of my favorite times of the year because of the food, as I talked about, but spending time with family and just giving gifts to other people. I think gift giving is one of the most fun things that you can do when you do it thoughtfully. It's a special time. It's a special time. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Be present with your family and your friends. Be present. Be where your feet are. Listen to them. Work on being more interested than interesting. Work on listening to what they have to say. Ask them what's going on in their life rather than just being so caught up in your own and telling them what's going on in your life. But other than that, I hope these 10 tips today help you make Christmas healthier, more meaningful. I hope they get you closer to your fitness goals and hope you get closer and closer to your best you. Merry Christmas.